Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Midian Unmade, Tales of Clive Barker's Nightbreed, edited by Joseph Nassise and Del Howison, and this is from Tor. And this is an anthology of stories that take place after the events of Cabal, or the movie version, Nightbreed. And this is part of my most recent book bundle, where I read 5 books in a row that have some sort of connective tissue. And in this case, it is 5 books, 5 anthologies, all based on intellectual properties. This is the third one. And for the too long didn't watch folks, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. Now, full disclosure, I've seen Nightbreed a couple of times. I believe I have the director's cut on Blu-ray, or the extended edition, or whatever it's called. But I don't know if I've actually watched that version of it. But I'm 99.9% sure I've not read the book, Cabal. I thought that I had it in my Books of Blood collected edition. I thought it was in Books of Blood number 6. Turns out it's not. And so I don't have a copy of it. And the only copies I can find, even the old ones, old hardbacks, paperbacks, anything I've looked at so far that's at least been within my price range, it's Cabal, the novella, I suppose it's novella length. Cabal, and then all the stories from Books of Blood Volume 6. So I've never rushed out to get it because I already have most of those stories. But I do need to get it, and I do need to read it. But I just wanted you to know all of my knowledge of this comes from Nightbreed, the movie. So, and I have not seen that in ages. But what we have here, let me throw some author names out at you. First of all, not going to tell you, go over everyone. There is a preface by Joseph Nassise, an introduction by Clive Barker. And then we have people like Shannon McGuire and Nancy Holder, Amber Benson, Robert Cargill, Timothy Baker. Let's see, I'm just trying to find some of the Lilith St. Crow, David J. Scow, all sorts of people. And, sort of a thing called Return to Midian that they don't call it an introduction, but it's not a story. It's kind of an introduction, its own introduction, by Lisa Majewski. I'm pronouncing it Majewski because that's the way my stepfather pronounces his name. And anyway, so as I said, this is a bunch of short stories that all take place after the fall of Midian, after all of the events from Cabal / Nightbreed. And the only characters I really remembered are Decker and Boone, who becomes Cabal. And I can picture a bunch of the Nightbreed, but couldn't tell you what their names were. So with that being said, I can't tell you in these stories if every main character, every main Nightbreed character in these stories is brand new for the book, or if some of them are, some of the main characters are characters from the movie / novella. Now, a bunch of the characters are mentioned, and I recognize some of the names of the characters, but can't put them with the faces of the characters. So I remember some names, but not the faces that go with them. I remember a lot of the faces, but not the names that go with them. And the general theme running throughout all of these stories, not in every story, but the majority of the stories, I would say, is the Nightbreed has now, after the events of the novella and the movie, Midian has fallen, the Nightbreed have scattered across the world, and Boone / Cabal is supposed to be finding a new Midian where all of them can gather again. And I suppose if there's anybody who doesn't know, the Nightbreed are essentially, to use a derogatory term, monsters. And they had a community under a graveyard where they lived their lives. They tried to live peacefully, leave humans alone, although there were those that would go out. Their nature was to hunt and kill, but for the most part, not vicious about it, just doing what they had to do, what their nature dictated. But a community of monsters living peacefully underground until this crazy, I guess, spoilers if you haven't read the book or seen the movie. This crazy guy, Decker, he was a serial killer, the Button Man. He wore a great, iconic mask from horror movies, sort of a burlap sack with buttons over the eyes and a zipper over the mouth. Great looking. But he frames his patient. He's a psychiatrist. He frames his patient, Boone, for the murders. But Boone, when he's running from the police, discovers Nightbreed. He is a Nightbreed, and or becomes a Nightbreed because there's sort of an infection that you can be turned into a Nightbreed. But then shit goes down, and Midian is destroyed by horrible human beings, and they've scattered. So in the majority of these stories, we're focusing on typically a single main protagonist Nightbreed and how they're surviving in the real world, and they're most of them are hoping that they'll eventually hear from Cabal and join the new Midian. There are some that don't think that's ever going to happen. There are some that aren't fitting into the real world at all. So we meet a bunch of different characters. I think most of them are new, who are monstrous in some way, and so they're hiding from humanity. Apparently they burn in the sun. Is this the case? And I don't remember this, because in one of the stories, I think one of the Nightbreed does something incredibly stupid. Basically, if you know you're going to burn in the sun and you have to go into the sun, wouldn't you cover yourself like with a blanket or something? Is that enough to protect one of the Nightbreed? Because they just go into the sun with no protection whatsoever, which just seemed ridiculous to me. They had plenty of time to put on protective layers. But anyway, there are a couple, possibly a few stories where the POV character is a human, and we see them perhaps discovering the Nightbreed, interacting with the Nightbreed. And those are interesting, but I prefer the stories where the Nightbreed themselves, man, I'm saying Nightbreed a lot. But I liked the stories better, the ones where the Nightbreed was the protagonist, our POV character. And some of them are even some of the stories are even in first person. I feel like I'm rambling, and possibly incoherent, but so this lovely collection of short stories, the Nightbreed have scattered around the world, and for the most part, they're waiting to hear from Cabal, wanting to rejoin the new Midian, and just trying to survive in the world of normals, as they call them. There are a few that aren't bothering with that. They don't care about Cabal. They don't care about a new Midian, and they feel that they're superior to normals and they can do whatever they want. There are what we might consider the evil Nightbreed. There's definitely evil humans, but there are some good humans as well. There's no... the stories aren't like in any sort of chronological order. Um, some take place quite a quite a bit of time after the fall of Midian. Some are right after the fall of Midian, but they're not necessarily like this one's right after, and then this is a little bit after, and then way down towards the end of the book, it's way after. Now they're just kind of mixed together. They don't tie together, except for the general theme, obviously. Um, and yeah, some of them are. Um, oh, most of them have that fairy tale or fable feeling that Clive Barker is able to evoke in a lot of his writing. I don't think any of the authors are aping Clive Barker's style. No one's trying to pass themselves off as Clive Barker, as it were. But a lot of the stories just sort of evoke that feeling that you get when you're reading these fantastical Clive Barker stories. I don't know that like something like the Hellbound Heart had this feeling, but you get into a Magica and some of those, there's a very fantastical, again, fairy tale or fable kind of feeling, in my opinion, to those writings of Clive Barker, and a lot of the authors here are able to capture that without just mimicking. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, we just a wide variety of stories that, even though the basic theme is the same in a lot of them, they didn't feel repetitive at all. Each author is able to give their own unique twist to the characters and what they're doing, and some of the stories are very sad. Some of the stories, there's some hope. Most of the stories are a bit frightening, but I suppose these stories are horror in the way that, well, I mean, I haven't read Cabal. I've said that, so I was going to say they're horror in the way that Cabal is horror, but I can't actually say that because I don't know. But horror in the way that Nightbreed, the movie, is horror, which less horrific in my opinion than, again, something like the Hellbound Heart / Hellraiser, or a lot of the books of blood, although a lot of the stories in books of blood have that fantastical fairy tale element. Midian Unmade, Tales of Clive Barker's Nightbreed, edited by Joseph Nassise and Del Howison, 4 out of 5 stars. If you're a Clive Barker fan, check it out. If you're a Nightbreed or Cabal fan, without necessarily being like a huge Clive Barker fan, still check it out. I really liked this book, and I recommend it. So there you go. Question for the video seems pretty easy. Have you seen Nightbreed? Have you read Cabal? What do you think of those? Is one better than the other? And, well, I've already answered that question. I've seen Nightbreed. I haven't read Cabal. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Blue Sky in the description below. That's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith. And until next time, read more books.